watching the India development debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. The great Maharashtra political tamasha just gets more and more bizarre. In the latest, the NCP, Congress and Shiv Sena have now displayed a show of strength at a Mumbai 5-star hotel, claiming they have 162 MLAs who support them. Sharad Pawar, Uddhav Thackeray, Mallikarjun Kharge were there among other top leaders of all three parties, and all the MLAs present were asked to take an oath of allegiance. All of this, of course, comes hours before the Supreme Court is to pronounce its judgment on the petition to hold a floor test in the Maharashtra Assembly within the next 24 to 48 hours. The BJP wants longer. The NCP, Congress, Shiv Sena have moved court against what they say is the surreptitious way in which Devendra Fadnavis and Ajit Pawar were sworn in as Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister by the Governor of the state in the early hours of Saturday morning. Remember that surprise we all woke up to? Now, over the next half hour, we hope to make sense of all that has happened and is happening in Maharashtra, and asking the big question over where is the government that we all voted for. Let me also just give you a heads up. There's a lot more going on the India development today as well. Up ahead, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court's scathing rap on the knuckles to the government. We're going to talk about what exactly is going on with Karvi, and we will also tell you about why Vijay Shekhar Sharma is the newsmaker of the day. But before we come to all of that, I'm going across to my colleague Utkarsh Chaturvedi, who's at the Grand Hyatt where that show of strength took place. Utkarsh, did you manage to count whether there were actually 162?
So the only issue, Tamanna, is we tried one because there was a lot of crowd, and then there were people like Supriya Sule was present there, Sharad Pawar was there, Uddhav Thackeray was there, Mallikarjun Kharge, and a couple of more leaders. We tried counting the seats. Now the seats there were around 170. What NCP claims is that not only 162, so you had Abu Azmi and the supporter and the AIMIM MLA as well. So apart from everyone, what we counted was there were 170 seats. If you really move out, the people I've named as Uddhav Thackeray, Mallikarjun Kharge, Supriya Sule in those seats, it was somewhere around at least 150 plus is what our estimate goes, but clearly it was a show of strength. All of them really with the board hoardings and the banners. Obviously, one reason is to obviously make a statement to the governor, make a statement to the BJP, but more importantly, make a statement to your own party men, because all of them are scared that as much time.
Okay, so Utkarsh, Utkarsh, so as I understand it, there we don't know if it's 162, and frankly, how many of them will actually vote on the floor of the House will remain to be seen. But definitely enough MLAs for Sharad Pawar to show up Ajit Pawar and show that he is in charge of his party, because that's the big question, isn't it?
Exactly. In fact, it was the first time that Sharad Pawar really spoke of the fact that what Ajit Pawar did was against the constitution. In fact, even though they have not really asked him to leave the party, but he said that Ajit Pawar has been penalized. He did something which was not through the party's constitution. But then till afternoon, it was Chhagan Bhujbal who tried really convincing Ajit Pawar to come back, because remember that Ajit Pawar used his power as a whip of the party to submit that letter to the governor.
Exactly.
And many are scared of that the day floor test happens, whose whip will be taken, whose whip will be considered.
Right, but he is no longer the chief of that legislative party. It's now Jayant Sinha. So this is now going into the legal angle. Thank you so much for that update, Utkarsh. Let me get to the debate. I have with me today Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Alok Prasanna Kumar, senior resident fellow at Vidhi Legal, Chakshu Roy, head of outreach at PRS Legislative Research, Vaibhav Purandare, senior editor at Times of India, and Fahad Ahmed, political activist who is a supporter of the NCP and is going to take on Tuhin today. Welcome to all of you. Vaibhav, I can't have noticed the color of your t-shirt. Even Fahad's for that matter. But Vaibhav, what is happening to the Shiv Sena today? Have they got the shot in the arm that they needed with Sharad Pawar there at the helm? And clearly, once again, Sharad Pawar is the man leading that front, the Agadi front between the NCP, Congress and the Sena. There's no doubt that it's Sharad Pawar at the helm of affairs.
I don't know if the Sena's really got a shot in the arm, because when Jitendra Awad of the NCP was reading out the so-called pledge to the legislators of the three parties, he said, he asked them to swear, saying that this Maha Vikas Agadi is being led by Sonia Gandhi, Sharad Pawar and Uddhav Thackeray. The names were mentioned in that order. Okay. Now, this is not good news for the Sena at all, and it is impossible to believe that the Sena legislators who were present and clapping there did not notice this. So, Sharad Pawar obviously is the man in charge. This was an intentional thing to influence public perception and especially to boost the morale of the party MLAs,
Weber, what's
MLAs
your
of all
take on the
three
numbers?
parties. And the very fact that they had to give them a pledge.
Yeah. What's your take on the numbers and explain this pledge? Because I know all Shiv Senics
They
take
do
a
not
pledge.
matter. They are no, they don't.
All right.
They don't take a pledge. I saw a very 1933 kind of sign with the hand.
Yes.
With all their hands raised and all.
Yes.
It reminded me of 1933, but there were actually no similarities. But yeah, that was a very wrong kind of signal to give to people, because we are a democracy.
Okay.
So anyway, that is see, no political group in this big fight has any claim to political morality.
Yeah.
But what I want to say here is that this show or this spectacle means nothing, and these numbers really are meaningless, because everything depends on what the MLAs of the three parties are going to do inside the house when the floor test takes place.
Okay.
When the speaker's election happens, and
Absolutely,
then the confidence
but why would it
motion,
be different? Why would they be?
is
Why
taken.
would they be
So
turning up in support
This
today?
is only for public. Sorry.
Why would they? Okay, let me go to Tuhin. Tuhin, is the BJP nervous today? Why? Logically speaking, say the Supreme Court, and we don't know what the Supreme Court will say, but whenever the floor test is next 24 hours, 48 hours or 14 days as the BJP is hoping for, why is there any reason to believe that all the MLAs who've turned up today at the Grand Hyatt will not have the same stand on the floor of the House unless there has been a clear influence, which there's only one party who would want to, or in whose interest it would be to influence them?
Well, first of all, this VR 162 gathering was a big charade. It was a fraud because, one, there was no head count of 162 MLAs. Number two, there was no way of verifying if they were MLAs. Prithviraj Chauhan was missing from that gathering. There were MLCs who were present. If you had entered the room, they would have counted you. For all you know, Prashant Kishore must have been sitting over there. So this entire thing is a fraud. We are waiting for the floor test whenever that happens, and we are very confident that we have the numbers.
How but Tuhin? But you're saying they're not MLAs, but they have MLAs in various hotels. Do you have MLAs holed up somewhere? Do you know where your MLAs are? And what's your number?
Well,
If theirs
first
is
of all,
162, what is yours?
there were at least 20 MLAs at least.
Huh.
There were at least 20 MLAs missing from this count of 162. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, when Ajit Pawar gives us a list of 54, for all practical purposes, he was still the legislative party head, and today what we are seeing, unfortunately, is coercive methods being adopted by both Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress to keep their flock together. I mean, it's the worst demeaning of their MLAs.
Okay, what is the
Yesterday,
person?
there was a report, and a credible report, that at least 15 Shiv Sena MLAs are infuriated with their own leader at the way he is trying to, cobble up this unholy alliance, and they still want an alliance with the BJP. So wait for the next 3 or 4 days. Whenever that floor test happens, you'll be in for a surprise. We are very confident of the numbers.
This whole chain of events is full of surprises. 3 or 4 days is too much. Anything can happen the next 3 or 4 hours, as we saw late Friday night, and then what happened
That's
Saturday
my
morning.
sense of it.
I'm
Obviously, the Supreme
I'm
Court-
going to come to the legal angle on that, but I just want to get a political response from Fahad Ahmed. Fahad, you're a young student leader. You're a supporter of the NCP. What are you seeing today? And what do you make of what you see today?
I will just start from a couplet like बर्बादे गुलिस्तां करने को बस एक ही उल्लू काफी था, हर साख पे उल्लू बैठा है, अंजामे गुलिस्तां क्या होगा. Earlier, we have seen in last 4 years the way Amit Shah have dismantled the various governments from Goa to Manipur to Bihar and to Karnataka. But now he has appointed a committee of 4 people, including a very corrupt politician whom BJP called a very corrupt, Narayan Rane, Vijay Sekhar Patil, and 2 other leaders from the NCP. You know, because now it has been 24 or 25 days of this political drama, and throughout this debate, there one thing which is missing is the people of the Maharashtra. Yesterday, a newspaper have very interestingly quoted that instead of we the people, the very first word of the constitution, now these political parties have made we the idiots. You know, throughout this process, anyone who is feeling cheated is the people of the Maharashtra.
No, that we know, Fahad.
If you remember Maharashtra,
No,
in
that's
last
very
2 or 3
true.
years,
That's
if
very
you
true.
remember-
People of the state are feeling amused, bemused now, you know, frustrated, disappointed with
Can I-
what's happening. I don't think anyone really has covered themselves with glory. Yes,
20
Vaibhav.
seconds, just
No,
20
yeah,
seconds.
I need to fix your audio first, Fahad. I'll come back to you. Yes, Vaibhav.
I can talk about why we cannot really rely on the numbers that were present at the Grand Hyatt. Now, we do not know which way the vote will go in the House. It may well go with these guys who say they have 162, but we cannot take that as final for the simple reason that there is serious discomfort in all 3 parties. Within the Sena of allying with the Congress and NCP, within the Congress of allying with the Shiv Sena, and within the NCP, a large section of which very clearly wanted to go with the BJP. After the results, we've been looking at reports which say that a very powerful section of the NCP was suggesting that the party should go with
Yeah, but
the
Vaibhav,
BJP.
Vaibhav,
Also,
you will have to
remember that
admit,
Ajit Pawar
you will have to admit, Vaibhav, today,
has mass leadership.
yeah, but you'll have to admit, Vaibhav, today Sharad Pawar is the one who's got everyone together in that room, by hook or by crook, whatever it is, and no party has covered themselves in glory.
Absolutely,
with the way
I am
they
not
behave.
taking any credit. No, I am not taking any credit. No, not a single party has covered itself with glory. I completely agree. What I am saying is Sharad Pawar is close to 80 years old. Ajit Pawar is relatively young, and he has the support of a lot of legislators. And every legislator is going to think about his or her future.
Yeah.
Let us not forget about that. I'm just speculating here, and
Right.
we are open. We are allowed to speculate.
No,
on
absolutely.
this.
But I think absolutely, because what else we can do.
And
but
he does have plenty
one-
of followers.
One really important part of the entire sequence of events in the last 3 days, and I want to focus on that with the 2 experts I have, Alok Prasanna Kumar and Chakshu Roy, is what happened in the Raj Bhavan between Friday night just before 12, the whole sequence of events, Raj Bhavan of course in the morning, and then the swearing in at about 7:30 in the morning. Alok Prasanna Kumar, that is what is in dispute in the Supreme Court right now. And quite a few things have changed since then. For one, Ajit Pawar and the list of 54 that he showed, he himself is not the head of the legislative party. Second, was it clear what those signatures were for? A lot of important questions now have come to the fore.
So, actually, what is before the Supreme Court is not really all of that. I mean, those are there, but I don't think the Supreme Court will concern itself very much with who sent what report, when, and for what joy. The Supreme Court has always made it clear we don't care on what subjective or objective basis the governor thinks that somebody should form the government, as long as the majority is proved on the floor of the House. And I think we don't know what the Supreme Court will say tomorrow morning at 10:30, but if precedent is anything to go by, the Supreme Court should, in all probability, say that let's not wait for any other contingencies. Let's have a floor test in the next 12, 24 hours, whatever time frame they feel like. In a sense, I guess it's not. We can dissect the facts. We can go. I'm not in full possession of the facts. I can only go by what is being reported. But let's just keep in mind that this idea that there is some sort of constitutional morality that governors and political parties have followed in ages past is a big lie.
Right.
I think we have a 70-year history of governors meddling in state governments when they're not supposed to. See, in other parliamentary democracies like ours, there's a history and a convention which establishes practices.
But I've never seen
or
a
other
history.
practices establish these conventions.
Chakshu, has there ever been a history or a precedent of something like what we saw in Maharashtra on early Saturday morning? Because at the previous night, till about 7:30 until about 9, 10, 11 in the night, it was clear that these three parties have come and said we are forming the government. Next day we hear that Devendra Fadnavis has been sworn in as Chief Minister already. So no one understands what changed. Isn't that unprecedented?
Tamanna, I think Alok was making an extremely interesting point about 70 years of constitutional history, and as to whether governors have interfered in in the process of formation or election of the chief minister. Yes, they have. In the last decade, I don't remember if things happened at this pace. But as far as back in 2018, the governor invited Mr. Yedurappa to come and form the government on the basis of a letter that was provided by him. Alok also made an interesting point, which is the Supreme Court is not going to concern itself with how or what objective or subjective tests that the governor take place. But I think what will be interesting are two things. One is this whole question about Mr. Ajit Pawar as being the leader of the legislature party. Now, if you look at the provisions of the Constitution, and Alok can correct me here, the Constitution only defines the legislature party in the Schedule 10, which is the anti-defection provisions. And there, the Constitution is explicitly clear, and it says that a political party can issue a directive, to its members, or it can authorize any person or authority to issue a directive. And if those directives are not followed, then there are consequences of disqualification from the House. So that's one. The second is, what will be the status of Mr. Ajit Pawar? Now, that is currently unclear, because so far the NCP has not taken any action or disciplinary action of censuring him or expelling him from the party, as far as I know. Now, does that position change when the floor test is ordered? Possibly. And how will the NCP ask its MLAs to vote? Will happen when the Supreme Court allows or orders a floor test. In the past, has the Supreme Court ordered floor test in an immediate and urgent fashion? Yes. 24 hours, I think, in 2018. I remember Jharkhand, they took about a day's time to order another floor test.
Right.
In Uttarakhand, as recent as 2016, the Supreme Court suspended the President's rule for 2 hours so that a floor test could be taken. So if history and precedent is to go by, tomorrow there is a high probability that the Supreme Court will say, let's do a floor test to put all this speculation to rest, and decide as to who has a majority on the floor.
But Tuhin, explain one thing to me. In the Supreme Court today, why were BJP MLAs arguing for a delay in the floor test? You are saying you have the numbers. You should be eager to get it over with.
We don't want a delay. We don't want a delay. Our point of view is that the decision should be taken by the Honorable Governor. Because in the last 32 days, right from the time the results have come out, we feel the governor has conducted himself with a lot of rectitude, with a lot of correctness, and so the authority should rest with him. Now, the entire this entire procedure of going to the Supreme Court was a very wasteful procedure.
Yeah.
If they had the MLAs with them, they could have easily gone to the governor.
But they have
and not
now. They have
for
now
15
given,
or 20 days, they used to have these picnic meetings.
No, they have given the letter to the governor now. But tell me something, Tuhin. Yeah, Fahad, I'll come to you. Tell me something, Tuhin. Where has the governor given a date for the floor test? There is so much lack of clarity in this entire situation. The Supreme Court will finally decide what is to be done, and as our experts have said, the events of Saturday early morning are not even in front of the court right now. But no one is clear about when and how did the cabinet revoke President's rule, who actually did it. There's some reports saying that the Prime Minister used his special powers to do it. There's no clarity on what really happened. What was the urgency to start the process at some 5:40 in the morning? Why did you need a swearing in at 7:30 in the morning? If there was such an urgency, why then not the same urgency for a floor test? Tuhin, don't you think these are valid questions that the BJP needs to answer today?
Well, first of all, the swearing in happened at 8 a.m. on 23rd November, and I'm sure by the end of the day you would have come to know a date for the floor test also. But before that, by evening, the other parties had already moved to Supreme Court. And as I can understand it at this point, tomorrow morning the Supreme Court will issue directives and will issue instructions to the same. But if you ask me the process, why this decision was taken in the early hours of the day, in the wee hours of the day, the primary reason is that despite giving opportunity to this alliance for 15 days, there was lack of confidence, because every time these alliance partners would not come up with anything concrete after the meetings. And in this situation, if Ajit Pawar, being the leader of the legislative party of his party with 54 MLAs comes to us, we clearly had the numbers.
Okay, did he come with 54 MLAs or did he come with a piece of paper with 54 signatures when you're not sure what those signatures are for? Fahad, you want to come in here? What took them so long? The NCP, Congress and Shiv Sena could have gone to the governor all of these days. Yeah, Fahad.
आपने ये जो सवाल पूछा, इससे पहले मैं इस पूरे टर्मोइल को समझाने के लिए सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहूँगा कि इतना ज़्यादा मतलब सिचुएशन खराब है, तो आखिर क्यों भाजपा जो है वो फ्लोर टेस्ट से भाग रही है? ये आपका सवाल था, और ये पर्टिकुलर सवाल ही पूरी सिचुएशन को समझा रहा है। ये जो मुझे अफसोस इस बात का है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट को पहले दिन ही बोलना चाहिए था कि जब जो सीएलपी के लीडर अजीत पवार को हटा दिया गया है, तो उसके बाद 24 घंटे के अंदर फ्लोर टेस्ट होना चाहिए था। तो पहला सवाल ये बन रहा है कि आखिर ये टाइम सुप्रीम कोर्ट क्यों दे रही है, ताकि हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग हो सके। कौन नहीं जानता है कि नारायण राणे का क्या रिकॉर्ड है, और नारायण राणे आज खुद मीडिया के सामने आके बोल रहे हैं। और
now the question of horse trading becomes difficult. Alok Prasanna Kumar, please come in here. The question of horse trading now becomes difficult because there has been a physical display of MLAs. Explain to us why this physical display of MLAs is important, and does it have any relevance
to
the actual formation? Yes, Fahad, please. Yes, I'm going to Alok Prasanna Kumar.
I'll just need 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to Alok Prasanna Kumar, please.
देखिए, आज हमें क्यों?
Yes, Alok.
So it's not particularly relevant, and it's not particularly relevant. It's nice. It's nice to know that they can get all of them together under one room. But at the end of the day, the court has clarified repeatedly, going right back to the Mumbai judgment. It's fine to do whatever parading or anything that you want to, even if today the NCP, Congress and Shiv Sena took the signatures of these, how many ever MLAs they have, the governor really only has to order the floor test. And to me, it is unfortunate that the governor did not fix a date. This is the problem in Karnataka as well. The governor there gave a period of 2 weeks, which if the government already has a majority, why do they need 2 weeks? And here as well, if now that some doubt has been cast on, whether the BJP has a majority or not, what stops the governor from, ordering a floor test tonight if they want, or tomorrow morning if they want?
Yeah.
They don't have to necessarily wait for the court's order. If anything else, they're probably in better compliance with the Supreme Court's order of ordering an immediate floor test. Of course, they'll have to meet, if they want to act fairly and impartially, the pro tem speaker has to be sworn in, there has to be appointed,
Right.
the MLAs will have to be sworn in, and an election of a speaker has to take place. Now, Supreme Court might say that we want to avoid further controversy, so let the floor test take place under the aegis of the pro tem speaker, as they did in Karnataka. I mean, all of these can be accounted for,
Yeah.
but my simple point would be this: if the numbers are there, there would have been a floor test by now. Why this delay for the floor test?
Yeah.
I think legally and constitutionally, the courts have repeatedly been saying it is not for you to prove the majority in letters or signatures or in hotel
on the
rooms
floor
or
of the
in the
House.
Raj Bhavan.
Yeah.
It is on the floor of the House.
You know, that's...
So
that-
let us the House, yes. So let us have that floor test. This is
No, so that's a very important point, because all those
Yeah,
pictures
that-
you're
that's
seeing
what I have to
today,
say, yeah.
all those pictures you're seeing today is adding to the political drama, maybe an attempt to add pressure on Ajit Pawar to come back to the fold. We don't know how many of these people will actually land up in assembly on the appointed day and what way they'll vote. Tuhin, I want to understand from you, seeing all of these pictures today and all of these people swearing allegiance, why are you so confident that a substantial number of them, and you will need quite a few of the same people in this room to make the numbers, why are you so confident that they will vote for your side when inside the assembly and on the
Tamanna,
floor of the House?
This picture that you're talking about, from the Hyatt Hotel, that is precisely the reason why I'm extremely confident. One, if they were so confident, why did they not allow the head counts? Why did they not personally introduce the MLAs as was the initial plan? So I can tell you, my information tells you there were at least 20 to 25 MLAs who were missing. And I can tell you for a fact, I've been speaking to Shiv Senics. I mean, they have bitterly fought the NCP and Congress in these elections. The average Shiv Senic, forget the elected representative, is so upset with its leadership that a significant section of even the Shiv Senics might rebel on that day.
But Tuhin, using the same argument, wouldn't the average BJP Karyakarta also be very upset because they fought against the NCP? The chief minister is on record calling Ajit Pawar the most corrupt, saying he should be put behind his bars. I need to understand, Tuhin, come on. You have to have the same yardstick. The Shiv Sena and the Congress fought against each other. How will they work together? Why should they form government together? Valid question. Same question for BJP and NCP.
No, this was an extraordinary situation, and I will tell you why. Because for the first time, we have seen coalition government since the mid-70s perhaps, but for the first time, right on the day when the election results came out, purely because of the unrealistic lust for power, our coalition partner tried to break itself from us. So yes, taking Ajit Pawar was not an easy decision.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for a fact that none of the cases against him will be diluted. Even today, there was some false news, some fake news spread about 9 cases where eventually, the media persons found out that those 9 cases had no connection with him.
No, but that's okay. Then, so are you saying you will prosecute your deputy chief minister? If you form government, the chief minister will effectively prosecute your deputy chief minister. Vaibhav, do you believe that? I mean, I don't know. This when I saw this WhatsApp forward, I mean, it's tricky to go by because a lot of fake news there. But the fact is, people are wondering what happens to all the cases against Ajit Pawar. Yes, Vaibhav.
That question obviously does arise, and it's a very legitimate question. See, again we are getting into issues of political and constitutional morality, and we have to be very clear that there is absolutely no political morality involved in any in this entire process, and regardless of the party that we are talking about. And this has been true in the past 50 years at least. Indira Gandhi between 1975 and 77 imposed president's rule in 20 states when she was prime minister. When in 1980 she dismissed a government led by Sharad Pawar in Maharashtra, just like that, because she wanted to. So this is not a new thing. So
doesn't make it right,
in terms of morality,
doesn't make it right.
Going to work.
I understand what you're saying, and journalists tend to become
cynical.
It
does not make it right. Absolutely not.
We tend to become cynical,
it
but
does not make it right.
Yeah, I think we can't stop calling it out.
No, the point I am trying to make, it's not. No, of course we should call it out, and it is obvious. what I want to highlight in particular here by why I am saying we should keep the issue of morality aside is the fact is the Congress, NCP and the Shiv Sena have messed it up big time. Now, was it a deliberate mess up is something that we'll really have to think about, because look at this. They have prolonged discussions. They say that, oh, we were going to form a government, but you know, this happened in the middle of the night. Again, there a question mark arises, but Fadnavis was sworn in the morning. The previous evening, Prithviraj Chavan, Nawab Malik and others said talks were inconclusive. Now, if the governor gets a letter showing the numbers, he is going to go by these numbers. So, in terms of procedural requirements, they have followed the BJP and the faction of NCP led by Ajit Pawar have followed all the procedural requirements. Whereas the NCP, Congress and Sena they didn't even stake claim.
Okay.
For God's sake, you can't just go straight to the Supreme Court and you can't, you know.
No, the only question.
The Grand Hyatt is not the Vidhan Sabha. So they have messed up. Now the question is was it a deliberate mess up? You know, now, and that question is not easily answered.
I know what you're pointing to is the Sharad Pawar conspiracy theory, but you know, by now I've heard so many conspiracy theories. I think let's just leave it to look at what finally happens. What is in anyone's mind, we can't guess. Chakshu, I want to understand about the process. So technically, the Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP did not stake claim. There was a press conference which the governor may or may not have known about. It's not imperative for him to have seen. Then early in the morning, at an unearthly hour, maybe, you know, they are early risers, I don't know, there is a claim and there is a list of signatures. At that point, did the governor need to go an extra mile to satisfy himself whether indeed these number of MLAs were backing Ajit Pawar, or was the fact that he was at that point CLP enough, chief of the CLP enough?
I think the simple question that the governor looked at was that, you know, somebody came to him with a letter of support, and the letter of support indicated as per the person who was giving the letter of support, saying that, you know, he or she has an adequate support or a majority of support of the MLAs. Now, the governor roles ends there. The governor sees a letter, the letter, you know, mentions support. Now, what the governor should do then is, you know, swear in the chief minister and other ministers, and then, you know, set a time for a floor test, because there is no one party which has a majority in the house. Somebody's, you know, brought forward a letter of support. Now, that letter of support needs to be tested on the floor of the house. Now, if you look in the past, whether it is coalition governments in parliament or whether it's coalition governments in state legislatures, more often than not, the governors have given some kind of a time frame and requiring the chief minister to prove his majority on the floor of the house. Alok was referring to Karnataka, and Karnataka, you know, I think 2 weeks or 15 days time was given by the governor. That time frame was then reduced by the Supreme Court to about a day's time, and I think, you know, it was on a Saturday that the floor test was then called for. What will be the steps now? You know, there are MLAs haven't taken oath.
Just one more thing I want to understand.
About the
is there a rule for, you know, when the governor invites someone to take oath, is there a rule within how many days the governor has to announce a floor test? Because there is no official announcement as far as I know. There are lots of numbers being thrown around, 30th November, 14 days. I don't know for a fact if there has been any communication. Is it imperative that the governor actually give a clear date?
There have been a number of judicial pronouncements which have said that, you know, when the governor invites somebody, especially when there is going to be a coalition partners involved in the government, that the governor should ask for a floor test at an appropriate time. In this case, we haven't, at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen an announcement, official announcement, which says as to when the chief minister has to prove, you know, his majority on the floor of the house. But will he or she have to prove a majority on the floor of the house? Absolutely. I mean, you know, when the MLAs start taking oath, when legislative business have to be conducted, the majority question is going to come into play. The Supreme Court possibly tomorrow will expedite that process and, you know, give a time frame of 24 hours, 48 hours, or whatever the Supreme Court decides. And I think then it starts becoming interesting. The governor then has to appoint a pro tem speaker. The pro tem speaker will then, give oath to all the MLAs so that they can start, participating in the proceedings of the House. And possibly the first business, if the Supreme Court orders a floor test, then the first business before the Vidhan Sabha after oath taking would be to conduct that floor test. So the Chief Minister will have to move a motion, asking for a confidence from the House, and then MLAs will have to vote on it.
We saw what happened in Karnataka, Alok Prasanna, and you and I had an opportunity to speak then as well, where B.S. Yediyurappa was set for that floor test till the nth moment. Is there a possibility something like that could happen again?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speculate. It's, again, hard to say. If they have the numbers, they have the numbers. If they don't, they don't. Point is, of course, and something, just to take off on something that Chakshus has sort of said, there isn't any judgment, there isn't any rule which says how many days or hours. Because it was, again, when the constitution was framed and when all of this has happened, it was believed that governors will act in good faith and they'll take decisions. And I suppose even at some level, after all this experience, the court is aware we can't fix a time frame. Situations are fluid, situations can change, and this hard and fast 24-hour rule or 48-hour rule is not realistic in every single situation. We are only seeing the cases which come to court because they're exceptional situations, so therefore the court says in exceptional situations 24 hours. But I don't know if we can put a rule in that place. But I think more realistically, the source of the problem really is still this, that governors aren't trusted to act in good faith. And no matter what certificates of approval you might give them on whatever context, the pattern has been that the governors have always favored the ruling party at the center, which has appointed them, and has always worked to ensure that the state government in which they're overseeing also the same ruling party comes to power or enjoys benefits. I think unless we change that, unless we change the way governors appoint and are appointed and function, I don't think this problem is going to go away. I don't think any number of rules or any number of conventions or specifics that we go into is not going to change this fundamental problem that governors of states in India today behave as if they are residents of the British Raj, that they have to constantly interfere and meddle in the affairs of then princely states and now, state governments in the country.
All right. Well, all eyes now on what the top court says tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. That hearing begins, and we will hopefully have some clarity on what happens next in Maharashtra. The attempt to make this government has been full of twists and turns. So really, all bets are off on what could happen next. I want to thank all of you for joining us on the big debate on India Development Debate.